that's what makes you alive, you know, being upset, being sad, being depressed, being excited, failing, doubting yourself, like all of that range of emotion is what makes you feel alive.
Yeah, I want to be world's strongest man, which means I need to beat a load of other people, but I can't control what Alexei Novikov's doing in his training. I can't control what Brian Shaw's doing in his training. But what I have full control of is what I'm doing.
Minor setbacks, major comebacks. That's one of my sayings. So if anything's going wrong, it's hard to say don't worry about it, but things will get right.
And Adam said, that clicked with me. I decided I was going to train to dominate.
It's Jordan Mulligan from the Mulligan Brothers, and today's video is from some of the best athletes and sports psychologists talking about the mindset in sport. Today's video is sponsored by mulliganbrothers.com, where you can now buy the hardest worker in the room hoodie vests, linked down below. And also today's video is sponsored by audible.com, where you can get a free audiobook from the sports psychologist Bill Beswick, with the link in the description down below. If you follow that link, you can get a free audiobook of your choice from audible.com. Thank you to audible.com for sponsoring this video.
Have early influence, like, can you look back now and go, like, these people, this situation influenced who I am today, like my mindset?
Yeah, definitely. I don't remember a time in my life where I remember thinking about following a path or being like the rest or being normal. You know, I was always striving for more. I don't know if it was because of my family, the way that I was brought up. So a pretty demanding family in terms of the expectations that they had for me, for my life. You know, they were, from a very young age, they were kind of wanting to steer me in the direction of going to be a doctor or going to be a lawyer, and you know, me never being interested in that led me almost to want to prove myself in other areas, and wanting to prove to them that I could create my own path that was independent of their expectations and their beliefs of what success looked like, if that makes sense. So my mom's side of the family, it's all like doctors and lawyers, super formal, traditional, conservative, Jewish, Hispanic family. And so when I started developing an interest for sports, usually sports that are more kind of in the male-dominated area, it created a lot of confusion for them and led to them not wanting to necessarily support that or be a part of that. And I just always felt like I had a chip on my shoulder, you know, like I had to prove to them that I could do these things, that I didn't have to follow the crowd, that I didn't have to, you know, go study communications and get married with an older guy that makes a ton of money. Like, none of that interests me. I wanted to be independent. I wanted to make a name for myself. And genuinely, like, I really enjoy the challenge. I realized from a young age that the moments where I felt the happiest were the moments where I was suffering the most. So that just kind of became part of my life motto. Like, anytime that I'm too comfortable, something needs to change, and I need to chase something that's really, really difficult. And yeah, it's a lot of rambling, but I think like the mix of that is what made me the way that I am now. A bit fucked up in the head.
I want to go on to World's Strongest Man, like this, like allure of it. But firstly, to have that self-belief early on, like the way you're speaking is a bit like your parents are athletes. Sounds like you've had that self-belief from quite a young age anyway. How important is it for somebody to like become successful in anything, even outside of strength sport, to have that self-belief? 100%.
If you can't visualize yourself achieving your goals, then you'll never achieve your goals. You know, everything starts in the mind. Like if you have to believe truly in your heart that you will achieve what you want to do, whether that's, you know, achieving the grades you want to in school, or getting to a certain level in business, or closing a deal that brings in X amount of money. If you don't believe it's going to happen, if you can't visualize that process and what it actually feels like as well, which is something that I did quite a lot, is when I'm using imagery in my mind, I'll actually see myself there competing or achieving my goal, but also focus on that feeling of how will it feel to achieve my goal, and that creates a pretty strong bond. You know, that link between the two is getting an emotional link to achieving your goal is hugely important. I think that's what drives people, you know, and if people want to achieve their goals, whatever it may be, if it's a sporting goal or whatever, then the first step is believing it themselves and in imagining themselves them achieving their goal.
So yeah, I mean, we talk about it a lot, like visualization. I don't know if you would use that terminology, but like we like really believe in almost like the smells, of when you're stood on that stage. So World's Strongest Man, obviously there's this big thing about winning World's Strongest Man. So if you could talk about that, would be amazing. But have you been there yet, like in your head, like holding that trophy?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a strange one, you know. Like my initial goal. Another thing with goals, obviously, you might have the ultimate goal, but you have to break them down into shorter, more achievable goals, short term. Otherwise, you'll always be fantasizing about the end goal and not actually focus on the climbing the ladder to get to that goal. You know, if you just dream about reaching the stars but don't focus on building the rocket ship, then you're never going to get there. So, you know, my first obviously goal was to compete at World's Strongest Man in 2015, and you know, I got there and it was like crazy. You know, I was in this amazing group. You know, Big Z was walking around looking massive. Brian was in my group. Obviously, Eddie had been competing as well, and yeah, I was like a fish out of water in my first year. And that's when, as soon as that finished, I was like, right, that goal's done. Now I've got to win this competition. That's the next goal. Make the next ladder. So it's like I've just kind of had to reset all my goals that I've been working towards for 5 years, because now the real work begins and I've got to start again in kind of building towards this new goal. And that's World's Strongest Man, you know. And yeah, as soon as that happened, I had that goal of being World's Strongest Man, but I couldn't really place myself there for a long time. The first time, you know, I suffered from confidence issues, in all honesty, some anxiety at certain competitions. You know, sometimes, especially at Europe's Strongest Man one time, I just didn't want to be there. I just got so nervous. And it wasn't until the World Tour final in 2018 that I actually started to believe in myself, you know, and that competition was a big breakthrough competition for me. You know, I got my first podium at an international show, and you know, Kieliszkowski was first, Martins Lisses was second, and it was me. And I beat a huge stage, including kind of Big Z, Iron Bibi, all these guys, Janashia, and I won that show. I came third in that show. And the most annoying thing in my brain happened, but obviously I was there. The points are really close, and we're going in, and I'm in third place, going into the stones. And in my head, I'm thinking, right, don't fuck this up, okay? Make sure you get the podium. In reality, what I should have been thinking was, right, go out there and attack and get this first place and try and go for the win. And afterwards, you know, after I got obviously I was really happy with getting that first podium. And I was like, man, I'm on the edge here of winning shows, you know? I need to now, that was the first time I could actually see myself and picture myself on the top of the podiums, both at kind of World's Strongest Man, Britain's Strongest Man, you know, Europe's, etc. That's when I could start like actually seeing myself achieving it. Is after that kind of moment there of going, okay, you've done all this now you can be on like a full attack mode.
So have you, in your head, have you held the trophy yet? Have you been to that place yet?
Yes, yeah. So in my head, I've seen myself on top of that podium, and you know, I've seen holding that massive trophy, etc., and everyone kind of looking at you and stuff. And I've seen that in my mind, and it's just kind of now climbing the ladder to actually achieve that again.
So on that, with anything, is that I find that to be a key, like to be having fun, to be enjoying it. Like, do you believe in that then? Like outside of strongman as well?
100%. This is not like you said. You've thrown out some words there. You know, obviously like obsession and sacrifice, and like I said, people might, if you just look at those words in isolation, they're not very, or addiction, I guess, as well. You know, is another one. People look at those words as very negative things. You know, what you're losing out on. You know, what you're overly kind of focused on, what you're addicted to. But for me, if it's something you really enjoy, then it doesn't take that much to sacrifice things you think you'd be better. It doesn't take that much to be 100% focused on it, and you probably become addicted to the fact you're being successful and you're enjoying it. You know, if people are not wanting to get up in the morning to do the training to make something better, then there's something wrong right there. You know, you should be bouncing out of bed to do it, especially if you're doing it alongside work. It should be a hobby and you should enjoy it.
How many days of balancing the enjoyable stuff with the, obviously there's going to be down days with pushing yourself. How would you, at what point would you go, actually, this has gone too far? Like what percentage of days or?
I don't think I've had, I don't think I've had many days where I've not enjoyed what I'm doing. I just wouldn't do it. I'm a bit all or nothing, you know. I think that might not help people because some people do struggle. I know they do struggle sometimes with the mental side of things as well, but I just wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. So for example, okay, here's an example for you. If I come into the gym and I just feel like I'm a bit off, it happens, you know, you have a session, I'll just leave the gym. I'll come back the next day, you know, I'll just take a break. But they're very few and far between for me, you know, especially if I'm training towards a competition in 12 weeks, I might have one of those in a 4-month period, you know, a 3-month period. So for me, it's just making sure that, you know, if you're not enjoying the situation you're in, you remove yourself from that situation and do something that's going to make sure you come back the next day and you're back to enjoying it. I guess my mindset is basically, it's me versus myself, you know. Yeah, I want to be world's strongest man, which means I need to beat a load of other people, but I can't control what Alexei Novikov's doing in his training. I can't control what Brian Shaw's doing in his training. But what I have full control of is what I'm doing. So I just look at it as me versus myself. I've got to be better than the version of Adam Bishop 24 hours ago, you know, and that's all you're doing. It's just that step forward every single time, because that's the only thing I can control. There's no point getting stressed about things you can't control.
So like in terms of other people waking up each morning and deciding, you know, how they're going to be, whether it's going to be a positive outlook or a negative outlook, is that something, can we take those lessons and apply them to our lives?
Absolutely. My latest book takes 20 lessons from sport, where I've dealt with somebody in sport, some quite famous athletes, where they've got a mental and emotional problem getting in the way of their performance. And I explain how together we dealt with it, overcame it, and they went on to become what they were capable of. But then I draw it parallels to everybody. I mean, in a sense, we're all high performers. We all step up every day to earn a living, to maintain relationships, to take the responsibility of owning property, to raise children. We're all high performers. So the lessons of my high performers in sport carry across into life.
Is there anything in particular when you were seeing athletes that you would draw a commonality, like there was something in common with the athletes that was stopping them from performing, or issues that they were having?
I tend to ask athletes 3 questions when they come to see me, and I've had a lot of distinguished athletes come to see me over the years. And my 3 questions are, what do you want? How badly do you want it? And how much are you willing to suffer? And very often, everything revolves around the first question, what do you want? Because a lot of people are unclear what they want from life. They don't sit down and think through. We are writing our own life story every day, and yet we don't think about it. Who do we want to be? Where do we want to live? What life do we want to lead? When we've finished our life, come to the end of our life and look back, what do we want to say that we've done? So, what do you want is a very powerful question. And then, if an athlete says, I want to be the best, Bill, fine. How badly do you want it? Because you've got to pay a price to be the best. The best pay a big price. You've got to work harder, you've got to commit more, you've got to take more responsibility, you've got to deal with more ups and downs. And if we can deal with that question, how much are you willing to suffer? Because I work with gold medal champions, and they suffer every day. They work enormously hard. They sacrifice enormous things in order to get that success.
So we were speaking about this before, we've been following the 2 strongmen, the Stoltman brothers, and one of them just won World's Strongest Man, and one of them is trying to win World's Strongest Man this year. And the closer and closer he gets to it, the more of the price he's paying, the more pain he's going through, the more sacrifice. Is there a point where you, with your athletes that you worked with, that they took it too far? That is there a point where you have to tell them to stop, or like, what is the boundary, the line that can't be crossed?
The boundary or line revolves around physical and mental well-being. So I would be very careful not to take somebody to the state where they were injuring themselves mentally or physically, where obsession with a goal overcame common sense, understanding. So there are points where I'm also, part of my job is to be a truth teller. Many athletes are surrounded by people who don't tell them the truth, as indeed many people are. A good friend is somebody who tells you the truth. That helps you more. Part of my role is to tell athletes the truth, and one of those truths may be, I think you've got to face up to the fact you've not got the ability to go any further. You've run your race. Now relax, enjoy it. You did really well. You maxed out on what you were capable of doing.
So if they're not, as long as they're not pushing up against that and it's not creating a mental struggle, they're allowed to sort of extend themselves through pain. And I think you use the word obsession then. Obsession, I mean, you see it in athletes all the time. That's okay to have an obsession with a goal.
Obsession's a difficult word for me because I think a focus on a goal is a better word. It's more controlled, more legitimate. So I think obsession means you lose control of the process. Focus is more, you're more in control of the process. As long as I feel the athlete's in control of what they're trying to achieve, I'm fairly happy with that. It's when they start to lose control and they lose their reason why. Because very often an athlete continues into the pain barrier because of the people around them. They don't want to let people down. They themselves would be comfortable stepping out and saying, that's it, I've done enough. But they persist because of the pressure of their support group.
Obviously you've worked with a lot of athletes. What is, when you say about pay the price, the pain that they go through, how does that look for somebody like a gold medal winner?
It looks like an everyday commitment where you wake up every day and say, just like Clint Eastwood, you say, today I'm going to be a champion. I work with Adam Peter, the gold medal swimmer, and he arrives at the swimming pool at 6 o'clock in the morning. And before he goes in, he stops and says, today I will train like a champion. And he trains for 2 hours like a champion. Nobody in the pool can get near him. He works so hard. And he comes back again at 6 o'clock in the evening and he stops outside the arena and says, tonight I'm going to train like a champion. And he trains like a champion. I gave a talk some years ago when Adam was a bit younger about attitudes to training. And I said, there's various types of attitudes to training. There's the just turn up, so that you get athletes who just turn up. It's training tonight, I'll just turn up. You get athletes who turn up to compete, or turn up to train, turn up to train. They'll turn up, they'll do the requisite amount of work, but that's it. Athletes who turn up to compete, they put a bit more effort in, they try to be the best amongst their group. Then there's the athletes who train to win. They train every day, every session, so that they win on match night. And then, I remember saying to Adam's group, there are just those very few players who train to dominate. They train so hard that winning is inevitable on race night. And Adam said, that clicked with me. I decided I was going to train to dominate. So he said, when I go into the Olympic final, I know I'm going to win. I know I've done more than anybody else. I feel so good.
That's giving me goosebumps, that has. That's amazing. So I think as well as a non-athlete, a non-professional athlete, we see the athletes and we think a lot of the psychology is based around game day, you know, it's race day, whatever it is. So how much is based on the consistency of showing up 360 days a year, whatever it is, and having the right psychology in those moments?
Everything. Race day should be inevitable. Winning should be inevitable. That's the price that athletes pay. But race day is fun because there's a crowd, there's cameras, there's your family, your friends, and it's nice to do that. What they don't see, the people in the arena don't see, is you on your own at 6 o'clock in the morning, working out, sweating, struggling. And that's what makes champions, the ability to motivate themselves to do the work on their own that leads to success in the arena.
How did you, at a young age, reach that conclusion? Like, when you were suffering, that you're the happiest at that point?
I think it was the feeling of attaining a really difficult goal, like the feeling that you get after going through hardship and then being able to come out on top. That just felt so good. I remember, like, one of my biggest struggles growing up was with my anxiety and panic attacks, and figuring out a way to continue playing soccer at the highest level, dealing with that. So there would be trips, you know, to the inside of the country, and I would have to figure out a way, and I didn't know what was going on with me, right? So I'd have to figure out a way to gain control over my mind and still go and perform. And I think, like, being able to do that, going through those feelings of absolute terror, which that's what a panic attack is, going through that and being able to still perform and winning championships and earning you know, titles like most valuable player of the year, stuff like that. Just the feeling of being able to overcome, come out on top, and then being recognized. I kind of became addicted to that feeling. I don't know if, like, consciously I came to that conclusion when I was younger. A lot of the conclusions that I got to came from being more mature, older, and then just introspection and thinking back at things, why I did certain things, or how did I end up here, or how did I develop this mindset. So I don't think consciously I knew it at that time, but it definitely became a pattern in my life.
So then, early adulthood, going into the lifting side of things, did that mindset start to develop even more through that process of going into the gym, lifting heavy weights?
Yeah, absolutely. Trying to think. Yeah, man. I mean, anytime that I tried something that was really difficult, and again, that I had the talent, skill, aptitude, and passion to develop into that, that's something that I always leaned into, especially if there was a challenge. That's one of the things that I love the most about boxing. Obviously, with powerlifting, I think one of the reasons why I didn't love it right away was because I felt like it was too easy. You know, it was like, every week I'm getting stronger, and now what? You know, okay, a year into it, I broke a bunch of world records. What kept me in there was being the best at something. And I didn't necessarily enjoy the sport per se, but I loved being the best at something and winning competitions and getting recognized. Everybody does, you know. If you say that you're not doing something, if you say that you don't care about attention or praise, like, you're lying. We're all human, and even though it might not be your motivating factor to do something, it feels good, right? So that's what kept me in powerlifting. But that's what I love the most about boxing, is just how brutally difficult it is and how challenging it's been to develop into that sport.
So, I mean, you've kind of answered this, but I'd be interested in hearing a little bit more on it. Is basically you're talking about choosing a hard path on almost every occasion. Well, yeah, this, how, you know, for a normal person, someone might go, well, or in fact, I would say for every human being, our natural state is to choose the comfortable path. So how do you change that and decide to take that path?
I think it comes from a mindset of one, a life worth living, really living and going through emotions, good ones and bad ones, accepting that that's what makes you alive, you know, being upset, being sad, being depressed, being excited, failing, doubting yourself, like all of that range of emotion is what makes you feel alive. So that's part of it, wanting to live a life that's worth living, but really, really living. And then the other thing is like I'm always motivated to take the hard path because I want to be able to, you know, when I'm in my deathbed or when I'm old, I want to be able to tell a cool story. You know, like even, and again, subconsciously, like when I used to travel when I was younger, like to South America or Asia or wherever I got myself in trouble, I would purposefully choose things that would go wrong, just for the sake of a story. Like for example, I went to Colombia to train for 3 months for Olympic weightlifting with the national team there. And I wanted to go from one city to the other. And I had the money to pay for an airfare. Like it wasn't that much, it was like an $80 flight. It was either an $80 flight that was 45 minutes long or like a 10-hour bus ride through like the middle of nowhere in the mountains. And I'm like, right, what would be a cooler story? Obviously I chose the bus, it ended up being an absolute shit show. Got into so much trouble with like militaries coming in and out, drunk people in the back of the bus. Like it was an absolute insanity. But that's so cool, then it gave me a story, right? So I think it was little experiences like that that made me really appreciate just putting yourself in difficult situations and then being able to have a much more robust, fulfilling and interesting story to tell when you're older. So it's like, consider myself pretty calculated in that way. Every decision that I make is, I'm writing my story, and I'm very aware of that. You know, I'm very aware of how one decision is going to impact my life and where that might take me, what kind of doors that might open, what other opportunities are going to come from that, what other challenges might come from that, what's the chance of me overcoming and then creating something even more impressive. You know, so I feel like I just want to have a story that's interesting to tell.
So the pain, does, you know, going through the rounds, does that eventually start to seep back in?
Like I said, I don't feel anything in there. You literally don't. You won't believe it, obviously, but it's after the fight you feel it. I've had one fight before, I had an elbow war. So I woke up the next morning, I couldn't even straighten my arms. Like my arms were just locked because of swelling, feet. It's just brutal.
Okay, so what's the journey from, let's say, number one in UK to one championship? Like what's that path? How do you do it? What was your journey as well?
So becoming UK number one, sort of I hit it off from there, and I think it's basically just like scouting, you know. Talk of the town, who's the talk of the town in the UK, and at that time it was me and Niamh Harrison. He's signed to one championship. I got signed like 3 years ago to one championship, and then I had my debut. And as I had my debut, the knockout that I had on there, it just went through the roof. Like social media went crazy. I think the video went viral, the elbow, and after that they gave me the title shot. So
young guy, obsessed with the sport, looking forward at one championship. What's that moment like when you get the call?
It was, I thought my trainer was lying to me, because I remember before I messaged one championship like a few years ago saying great show. I've still got the DM on my phone. Great show, I would love to be a part of it one day. Didn't get back to me, unfortunately. But then they realised, and then, so when I won the world title now, I went back onto our chat on one championship, and I looked at that message saying I'd love to be a part of it. And that's when it comes surreal. Like, I knew what I wanted and I achieved it.
We talk about manifestation, you know, like believing you're gonna have something, and then when you arrive there, there's like, it almost feels like it's just supposed to happen. This is the way it's supposed to be. So when they call your name and you get that belt, like what was that moment like? So
when they said, and the new, so throughout training camp, that was the saying, like my trainer would egg me on, and the new world champion. And it just stuck in my head and I thought, I got this. I probably had about 5% chance winning that fight. And like I said, nobody believed I was gonna win that fight. But I studied him for a long, long time. Growing up, I watched this guy, Sam A. Big respect to him, he's the legend. And I was very confident. I shouldn't have been confident because I had 15 fights. I should have been cacking my pants really, but I was so confident. And yeah, took it with both hands.
You know, what was that like when you raised it in the air?
Unreal. I had my family there, my granddad, my friends. I came out to Singapore. For my granddad to be there, he's my #1 fan, my granddad. And to win in front of him, to win in front of everyone really. The best thing was the gold confetti at the end when it just came down. I just thought, I had a broken nose as well. Broke my nose in the second round, I couldn't breathe. And my trainer was laughing at me in the corner, my dad was laughing at me in the corner, get on with it, I'm like, I can't breathe out my nose. So I just thought, I've got to get on with it now. And the best night of my life.
Is that the video of you lying on the floor in the confetti?
Yeah, what would we call it, the confetti angel. Yeah. I said I was going to do that as well. In training, I said I was going to do that.
So what's your predictions now? Like, what are you saying now?
The goal is to get my one championship belt back, obviously, and I've got a few steps to climb. I'm on my way. I'm on my way there, and I'll get there eventually.
So from the highs of holding the belt, how would you describe having that taken away from you?
So I won the belt, and then I called out the best in the world, because I think if you're going to be the best, you've got to fight the best. People must have thought I was mad when I called out Rotang Jitmungnon, the most feared Thai boxer in the world, everyone would tell you. I called him out, big mistake, he took my belt. But now, I want to be the best, so I've got to beat the best. And to lose the belt against him the first time, it was a bit controversial. I thought I won, he won obviously, and it was devastating. I was heartbroken, but I didn't let it get to me too much. They offered me the rematch. I turned it down. I said, I'm not ready yet. I turned it down. I trained for an extra 2-3 months, got my head right again. I said, yeah, I'm ready now. And then I had the rematch, and he defeated me by TKO in the second round. But my mind wasn't really there, you know, it wasn't really there. I don't know why, I can't explain, but I was devastated. But now on my way back, just got my first win back from off that loss against Taki Nato. 2 more wins, I'd say, and I'll get that belt back.
So, you know, a lot of people talk about, like, obviously the early portion of your career, you're winning a lot and it's giving you that confidence. But with a loss, it gives you, for me, like, when you lose something, it sometimes gives you more motivation. Like, what did it like? Like, did it light a fire inside you once that happened?
So I've had 3 losses. I've learned more than them on them 3 losses than I have any of the wins, you know. So I lost 1, I came back stronger, I won. I lost another 1, got signed to 1 championship. So it opened up doors for me. Made me realise as well, like, I am beatable, and I'm coming up against the best in the world now. So I need to up my game, and more fire. I'm a light. I'm a light. I'm on fire.
Well, how would people apply that to their normal day-to-day lives? Like, do you think that's something that they can use, the negative stuff that happens to them?
Yeah, you know, sometimes there's setbacks, minor setbacks, major comebacks. That's one of my sayings. So if anything's going wrong, it's hard to say don't worry about it, but things will get right, fit into place. Just keep going strong.
And there you go, Stefi Cohen, Adam Bishop, Jonathan Haggerty, Bill Beswick, all these great people talking about sports psychology, and these people know what they are talking about. All their resources are going to be linked down below if you want to go follow that and check them out. Today's video was made possible with audible.com, where you can get a free audiobook from people like Bill Beswick with the link in the description. If you click that, they are giving away a free audiobook today using that link. So thank you very much to audible.com. Thank you to mulliganbrothers.com, where you can now buy the hardest worker in the room, hoodie vests. Well, come into the website very soon. If you want to see me on my gym journey, and with Niamh as well, my sister, on @JordanMulliganBrother on Instagram, @NiamhMulliganX. Come follow us, come say hello and see what we get up to. And also on the vlog channel now, we're going to be doing a lot more content. So come check us out. Yeah, what a great video. And my favorite people to listen to are people who have been through it. So Bill has worked with some of the best teams in the UK and in the world around sports and sports psychology, and with some of the best athletes from all around the world. And then to listen to athletes like Stefi Cohen, you know, someone who's had to work in business but also in sports and change sports, 25 times world record holder, Adam Bishop, Jay Haggerty, like the fighting, the strongman, these people for me are the definition of having the right mindset for sports. Adam Bishop's a fantastic person who I like to look towards in terms of mindset when it comes to sport. So yeah, I love this video and these people in particular. Their stuff is linked down below. Go learn lessons from these people, guys. Take what they say and use it in your own life. Go inspire some change yourself. Have a blessed and productive day, and I'll see you in the next one.